Hi, so we're now going to talk about communication skills. So that's something that's particularly important for all our befrienders, but also when you're interacting with the befriendees. So do bear in mind that the people that you will befriend may not have had the opportunity to speak to somebody that recently. They might maybe only speak to somebody once every couple of days, or maybe nobody for quite some time. That might make it difficult for them to instigate and start conversations with you. So it's very important that you as a befriender develop your communication skills to enable our clients, our befriendees to have that confidence to communicate with you. So if you have those good communication skills and you're engaging with them, then that shows the client that you respect them and you really want to engage and communicate with them. So let's look at this wee sort of statement, and I'll go through it twice. I want you to have a look at the two different versions that I will do. Hello, my name is Mariette. It's lovely to meet you. I'm your befriender. So yeah, I'm looking forward to meeting with you. So what do you think? Good, bad? Okay, second version. Hi, my name is Mariette. It's really lovely to meet you. I'm going to be your befriender and I'm really looking forward to meeting with you. So what do you think? A or B? I think it's all pretty obvious that actually B was the better version. If you look warm, you look engaged, that you're interested, then you naturally will connect with your befriendee. Do bear in mind for our befriendees in terms of sign language users, how you look in terms of that facial expression, your engagement is really, really important, and that will add to that rapport and that engagement. Okay, so let's look at different types of questions. As I mentioned earlier, our befriendees, our clients might not have had the opportunity to have much conversation in the last couple of days or the last week. So you may see situations where they don't have the confidence to hold and instigate conversations, or would sort of struggle sometimes. So these are some tips for you all to think about whenever you're engaging with somebody. So in terms of, I think the first thing we should always think about is what sort of things are they interested in? It could be different sort of topics, maybe TV programs, history, stuff that happened in the past, the news, the weather, their family, and those sorts of things. Now, equally, there may be some situations where certain topics are particularly sensitive, that they're uncomfortable talking about it. Sometimes it could be a family thing. Then do bear in mind, do like something like a traffic light system. So you might say, when we talk about family, I'll note that down, but that's maybe sort of a red. They don't like talking about that very often. If it's one of their hobbies or interests, then it could be something green. You can engage with them quite a lot. Or if it's something about the local area that maybe it's okay, but they're not that happy, then you can put it in amber. So at least it gives you an idea of things that you are comfortable talking about and they're comfortable talking about, but also things that you might need to be a bit more careful with, but also things that you should always avoid. Obviously we'll assume for things like sort of hobbies and so on, that might be something that will really interest them. They'll love to engage about. Now, you won't have all the answers. And it's always really important to sort of think about that. What you just want to do is show that you have the understanding, the empathy, and you want to engage in terms of that communication. There may be situations where they might become quite upset. Then you can reflect and say, oh, I'm sorry that sort of happened to you, or that did sound sort of difficult, or I appreciate that might be quite difficult or frustrating. So show that sort of empathy. So a few tips, things like open questions, asking people how they felt today, where they have an opportunity to then sort of respond and engage in lots of detail. Or when was the last time you did that? When was the last time you went for a walk? I know you're interested in walking. It's those sort of how, what, who, when, why questions that will open the conversation and allow them to engage. There might be sometimes a situation where they're getting frustrated over something and frustrated over maybe sort of access to a particular type of service, you know, it might be an opportunity to go through the type of reflective question and say, well, actually, have you thought about maybe calling them and actually sort of maybe putting in a complaint or saying things like, you know, I'm not, you know, calling them and saying like, I'm not happy with that type of service. A closed question, on the other hand, is something like a yes or no answer. Would you like a cup of tea? And it's sort of a yes or no answer. Now, the last one on the list is hypothetical questions. And if they're, you know, if they have a particular issue or they're going down a particular sort of train of thought, a hypothetical question is, what would happen if you did this? What happened if you went that way? And think about those sorts of things. Now, when you're having sort of those sorts of conversations, you know, if you keep the conversation sort of positive and positive sort of communication and feedback, then that will always help in terms of your engagement with your client. Okay, so let's talk about active listening. You know, how do we know that we are good listeners or somebody is a good listener? Active listening is really, really important. Good listening is really important for engaging with our friendies, our clients, because, you know, what we want to show is that it shows your attitude, it shows that you're understanding, and you know, makes them sort of feel engaged. So, you know, whenever you're good an active listener, it will show that actually your attitude and you're engaged in that person's sort of need. It shows how much you're understanding, but also if you think about sort of agreed goals or things that that person wants to do, it shows you're there on that path, you're sort of supporting them. And actually that success or failure, all of that will actually convey respect towards that person that you're communicating with. So in terms of the common problems that will happen in terms of listening, and most of these will be very much sort of stuff that all of us will be familiar with. So things like sort of comparing, you know, so it's all about sort of like, you know, who's smarter, who's better than this. Or sort of rehearsing, well, actually, okay, it doesn't matter what the person sort of said, but I know I have to ask this type of question. That will just show that you're not listening, that you're thinking about what the next thing you want to say is. Being judgmental. So, you know, jumping to conclusions. So they've said something and then you get to the end point and say, well, actually, this is, you know, and actually daydreaming, you know, if you're obviously thinking about your own sorts of things, thinking about other situations. Advising is something that we're not there to do. You know, and actually sort of that sort of coming up with, oh, they've said something, or I think you should do it this way. So then the next one, the common sort of problems is that sort of sparring, that actually you become quite confrontational. You're sort of challenging them about their sort of views, that sort of battle sort of approach. You might have a situation where somebody relays something to you and you take the conversation off a completely different tangent. That's what we call derailing. Placating is where, yeah, of course you're right. Yes, somebody comes says something to you like, yeah, of course, yeah, definitely you're right there. And actually, that's not always the case. It's not always the case that actually just saying they're okay, or even going down the route of taking notes. If you're note taking through the process, you're not really actively engaging in the process or communicating. Okay. Thank you very much.